From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. I am Chase Parham, the mobile Clark Ford studio. Today you're getting an audio recording of last night's live show at the beautiful Westin in downtown Jackson. We had Kermit Davis. We had Mike Espy as well. We reacted to the news of Phil Longo headed to North Carolina. We talked about McIntyre recruiting Espy back in the day, what he brings to the program, and much, much more. With Kermit Davis, we discussed Christmas, his team so far that's 6-2, and facing Southeastern Louisiana tonight here in Jackson. $5 tickets available for that. You can also get conference play season tickets, single game tickets now starting for just $20. That includes Auburn, MSU, Tennessee, and Kentucky. You can visit OleMissTix.com for that. So with Kermit, we have a good time. He starts the show, and then we move on to Mike as well. Appreciate all of you who came out last night. Appreciate the Ole Miss M Club for hosting the event, for bringing out crowd, providing food. Had a bar available as well. So good time here at the Westin as always. We've done it several times here. Always a good time. So appreciate everyone involved with that. The podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Remember, you get the Speed Pass Plus out, the mobile rewards program, plenty of ways to save time and money with the Oxford Exxon, daiquiris, lunch specials, ribs, so much more. You know about it. We tell you every single day. Also, I mentioned Clark Ford. That is in Amory, 662-257-1900, Highway 25 South. At the end of your deal, make sure you tell Corey about the podcast, $500 off. And to get the deal to start with, remember that you can get a quote within 15 minutes. So Corey can help you out. He wants to be your truck guy, your car guy in Amory. And now here is the podcast from last night from the Westin. Mike Espy, Kermit Davis, myself, and Neal McCready.
As Kermit Davis makes his way back to this area of the room, we'll give you a little order to our part of the night. Neal McCready, Chase Parham. Going to have Kermit here with us for the next 15 minutes or so, and then Mike Espy, former Ole Miss wide receiver. He was recruited by Mike McIntyre. He's going to join us as well. Little news coming out today, obviously, with Phil Longo headed to North Carolina as their offensive coordinator. We're stunned. We're blown away. We'll try to cover that a little bit tonight as well. We've got some giveaways. I know Dead Soxy is going to give away tonight. We also have some koozies and different things out on the table. If they're not out there, they're in a cardboard box right behind the table. So if you're wanting those, grab them, have at it, and we will give those away as well. So we'll start with Kermit in a minute, but again, appreciate you being here. I see a few people walking out. Hopefully that's just to get a drink and not to give up on the night. Kermit, good to see you.
Good to be here. What Absolutely. A great crowd, and good to be in Jackson. You know, we've been looking forward to this date for a long time. I know our players are really excited about coming, and you're fixing to go over to the Coliseum and get some shots up and have game day practice tomorrow. Some of these guys have played in the Coliseum, obviously being Mississippi high school guys, so I think everybody's glad to be here.
You told this story a minute ago, but for those that are listening on the podcast that aren't here today, this isn't your first time to get some shots up in the Coliseum.
It's been a long time. They asked me yesterday in my press conference. I just said it. You know, it was like 1978. I played on the North team in the All-Star game, and I don't think I've been a coach I know I haven't been a player. I've been a coach any other time there. So, but everybody here, and especially if you grew up at Mississippi high school, everybody has good memories that made the state tournament or played in All-Star games there. And, we've got such a great contingent of Ole Miss people in the Jackson area that I think we'll have a really good turnout tomorrow night.
Why'd you only have 2 points? Did you get froze out? Were you 1 for 1? Were you 1 for 12?
I think I went 1 for 2. 1 for 2. And the coach made a good decision. He only let me shoot it twice. So it was probably a good decision on his part.
The coach's name was Davis, too. Is that right? He sat you? He was trying to win the All-Star game? What was going on?
I think it was. I can't remember hardly that far back.
What's this year been like for you? After all these seasons at Middle Tennessee, you're back in your home state, coaching at Ole Miss, going through the beginning stages of building a program. I know you're in the middle of it, so you don't really have a chance, obviously, to sit back and reflect on what all of it's been. But what has it been like? I mean, just from your perspective.
It's gone by so fast. I mean, the 8 months, it's been invigorating for me. I mean, I love the school that I was at Middle Tennessee. I loved Murfreesboro, everything about it. But this job has been unbelievable for Betty and I and Allie, and my daughter Claire lives in Tupelo. My mom and dad are still living in Tupelo. So it's been so good, not only the job, but to be able to do it around family. And, it's always been a dream of mine to take an SEC team to really advance into tournaments, try to compete for championships, and to do it at your flagship university of the state that you grew up in. I mean, it's a dream of mine, and so we're excited. We got a lot of work to do, but I'm really pleased with the progress.
You talk about having a lot of work to do, and obviously you do in the first year of a program, but just from my perspective, which is sometimes watching television and sometimes it's on press row, it's obvious kids have bought in. This group clearly is trying to please you. That's at least what it looks like to me. Is that been your experience as well?
No question, no doubt. I mean, that's as good a term as you can use. They're trying to please the staff, and that's a great thing. Early on, it was never really a fight. It's just, I hate to say you change culture. Cause
you're new guys.
Yes, it is. It's all new guys. It's not just all returning guys are new. The freshmen are new. So everybody's trying to kind of get into the culture that you're trying to set. But I do think that we've had some of the best practices that we've had. Even in the games like Butler, we're up 5 late. Cincinnati, we fought it. Cincinnati, I think, is a top 10 team. But these guys today, I mean, they came out with such good energy. They were excited about getting on the bus and coming to Jackson, and I think we'll play hard as ever tomorrow night.
This is way off topic, but you mentioned Cincinnati, and I watched them the other day. They're giving everybody fits, which has to give you a little bit of comfort because they gave you guys fits. They're giving everybody's fit. What is it that they do that is so difficult for other teams to adjust to? Because everybody they play struggles to get into the 50s, Kermit.
It's Mick Cronin and I have been friends forever. It's so non-conventional how he plays. I'd like to describe it, but it's a zone with man principles. They rebound the ball so well. Offensively, they're simple, but they're efficient. He's got older players. One thing that we've got to get done here, and Mick and I have talked about it since I've gotten the job, you got to get old at Ole Miss. You got to get old and stay old at Cincinnati. And that's what he does all the time. Whether transfer or good high school guys that are coming up, and his team stays old. And so before it's over.
Meaning, for those that don't know what you're referencing, meaning that you're never, I hate the word never, but it's going to be difficult to have a Kentucky-style roster. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, I mean, even Kentucky struggles with it at times.
Yeah.
And they're getting the very best high school guys in the country. So, I mean, it's great to grow up with K.J. Buffin, Blake Henson, Luis Rodriguez, and Franco Miller, the kid from the Bahamas, was probably the most celebrated guy in the class, and he hadn't played yet because of an injury. But it's great. You got to have those guys. And since I've been here, we've signed 9 guys, and 8 have been freshmen. So, but we got to get older in the spring. Grad transfer, maybe an older player that can kind of fit with our new guys. That's the only way I think that you can keep progressing and really, really stay competitive nationally.
How much, when you sit around the house, not that you have a lot of time to sit around the house, but do you watch a lot of basketball? Do you watch the league? And when you watch the league, do you watch it are you able to distance yourself and say this is different than watching film? I'm just watching the game, or are you always sort of scouting, if you will?
I think innately you're always scouting. But when I'm at home, I really kind of watch it as a fan because I watch so much film. And I don't jot down things on my pad because we get exposed to everything that they do. I saw the very early stages of the Tennessee game, but we couldn't. I was recruiting or practicing, so I couldn't see it. But that's a great win for our league. Alabama beating Arizona is great for our league. We need to pull for all the SEC teams. I know it's hard to pull for one school, but we need to pull for everybody because it's like right now, we're ranked 18th in the CBS RPI. In the net, we've moved up now to like the low 50s. And so you start getting as an SEC team in the 40s and 50s going into league play, you're going to get so many opportunities for these quadrant wins on the road and at home. And the tougher that your league is, the more opportunities that you get. And then when you win these games, they give you more value. So we need everybody to win games in our league in the next 2 weeks.
I told Chase I watched a lot of SEC basketball over the weekend. I watched Kentucky and Seton Hall, which was a crazy game.
Right.
I don't know how much you saw of that.
We saw it on the bus. after our shoot-around at Illinois State.
Yeah, Kentucky makes basically a three-pointer to tie it, and then Seton Hall wins in overtime, and then Alabama beats Arizona, as you just referenced. Tennessee beats Gonzaga, which was a huge win for them, a huge win for the league. When you look at the league at this point, is it about what you thought it would be?
We probably haven't had as much success as far as in big games as what people thought. Early on, they projected the pundits that maybe we'd have 8 or 9 teams in. Now you look at it, they may say 5 or 6. But that can still change based on what we do over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I see Auburn and Tennessee as being the 2 very best teams. Kentucky's still very talented. Mississippi State's a very good team. Arkansas has probably been one of the surprise teams of the league, but they got a lottery pick at center. And you have a lottery pick at center, you've got a chance. LSU's very, very talented. Florida, Mike White, who's a great Ole Miss alumni, he's going to get his team right. He's such a good coach. So I really think at the end there's going to be 6 to 8 teams, and that's the beauty about this league. If we can go and play well over the next 2 weeks of the year, and our non-conference record is could be pretty good. It's but the game tomorrow night is a very critical game, just in March. So all those things are really important, and I think everybody's looking forward to getting in league play.
This podcast is brought to you by one of our new sponsors, the Blow Dry Bar in Oxford, Mississippi. Guys, if you're searching for an outside-the-box Christmas, anniversary, or birthday present to any female in your life, this place has your answers. They were voted Best New Business in Oxford in 2018, and they will not disappoint. They have many packages they can put together for women in your life. So give them a call, 662-638-3310. There's a Rebel Grover podcast discount if you tell them about us. And the reason that you are there is, so again, 662-638-3310. Also experience all things Oxford in a week during the 3rd annual Pop-Up Oxford. It's going to be January 19th through 27th. Experience a week-long celebration of Oxford's rich cultural scene of food, art, lectures, and musical performances, Ole Miss basketball, and more during that time period. Again, January 19th through 27th. Also, don't miss the 9th annual Fiber Arts Festival during Pop-Up Oxford. That's going to be January 24th through 27th. The festival features receptions, lecture, demonstrations, children's activities, and classes. Special events during the Pop-Up Oxford include songwriters competitions, hotel hop, art crawl, Thacker Mountain Radio Hour, MLK Day, featured events, and more. So be sure to go ahead and check out the website at popupoxfordms.com. Also, the podcast is brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, located in Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga, one of the older mortgage companies in the Southeast. Our underwriting and processing is done in Memphis, so you're getting local underwriting that understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float-down option. You can find Jason Lowe at 662-234-2704 or JLowe, that's JLOWE, at communitymtg.com. Also, don't waste your time with the big chains, the big pharmacy chains. Go somewhere where you're appreciated. That's G&M Pharmacy. They're a locally owned and operated, and they care about their customers. They've been Oxford's trusted hometown pharmacy for 40 years and offer many great services such as MedSync, immunizations, free delivery to your home or workplace, and much more. They're conveniently located right off South Lamar Boulevard here in Oxford. They can transfer your medications easily, so just give them a call at 662-236-2222, and they will take care of the rest. And then last but not least, with Christmas around the corner, Mastercuts is ready to keep your home looking up to par this holiday season. So many different ways to transform your house into a festive staple of the neighborhood, lighting and garland, inflatable characters. Whatever your vision may be, Mastercuts will help design a custom display unique to your home. And the best part is all the decorations you pay for, you'll own them. They'll store them to the next year, or you can store them yourself. That decision is yours. So start that tradition today with Mastercuts. Get a free quote, 662-607-7773.
I'm always kind of fascinated by the RPI in the past. Coaches would study it, and I'd talk to coaches, and they were frustrated by it, kind of baffled by it. They've scrapped it now, even though it's still there, and I'm sure you're tempted to look at it out of habit. What do you look at now to sort of get a gauge for, hey, here's where we are, here's what we need? I mean, obviously you got to win games. Everyone does. But when you're looking at it here in the second week of December, what metrics are you looking at to sort of get a gauge as to where your team is?
We're all trying to get a grasp on this new net. I mean, and I'd like to tell you I know it perfectly. I do not.
Well, no one does.
Yes, and so, but, the one thing that, like I looked at it today and we're 54 in the net. I look at the strength of schedule. We've played the second toughest schedule in the SEC in the non-conference. That's what we're going to try to do every year. I mean, like next year we're going to start a series at Memphis. We'll have Butler at home. We're going to preseason NIT with Syracuse and Oklahoma State, maybe Michigan. So I mean, those are the games, and we're going to try to even start another non-conference. I think at our level, the better the non-conference strength of schedule. That's why our net is up there a little bit. I thought it was the road wins. Last year I was at Middle Tennessee. We won the most true road wins of anybody in college basketball. 12-1 in true road games, but it didn't do what we thought. We got left out. We're ranked in the top 25 in the last poll, and we get left out of the tournament, get upset. So I don't know. I think everybody sits in that committee. They can say the net, but everybody has their own little criteria.
How distressing was that for you? Distressing might not be the right word. Upsetting. You guys had such a phenomenal season at Middle Tennessee, and then you get knocked off on that Friday night in the conference tournament, which happens to 10 teams all over the country every single year. It's where everybody loves March. Probably didn't feel very good. Didn't feel very magical that night. And then you don't get in on Sunday. Was that part of your mindset where you said, hey, it's just I've got to go to a place where there's more opportunity?
I felt bad for our team, but I really thought I was going to be the new coach at Ole Miss, so I felt really good.
Yeah.
All right. I felt bad for our guys. I mean, it was heartbreaking. I mean, we were ranked in both polls. We're 16-2 in the league. Had beaten 2 SEC teams in the non-conference schedule. But that's the beauty about this league, because you don't have to be perfect, and you got so many opportunities of top 20 teams coming into your place, going on the road and getting great road wins. So that's the beauty about being in a Power 5 league.
So people want to they always want us to get to know guys like you. They want to get to know you. Christmas is coming up. I know you've got, 3 games? I'll ask you about this one first. You've got Southeastern Louisiana tomorrow. I know you're going to give me the coach answer. Then you've got Chattanooga on Sunday. And then you've got your old team. And it's a little ways away, but what's that going to be like for you to be going against the Blue Raiders and some kids you recruited and fans in the stands that and that, cheered for you for more than a decade? What's that going to be like?
It really is. It'll be fun to go back and see a lot of pals. We've had a lot of people to reach out. It's been funny. We've had so many Murfreesboro people come down and watch us play already. And they come in that pavilion, they watch that game and the game operations, they're blown away. Just how nice that the pavilion is and everything about it. And they love the city of Oxford. But, it is. The game is in Bridgestone Arena. And I set that up with Andy, a few years back. And it's a great game for us because we get to play at the SEC tournament, there. So it's great. And then, Middle Tennessee hadn't gotten off to a great start, but I know how those guys are going to try to play against us. So it'll be bittersweet. I really don't like those kind of games. It's a place you put a lot of sweat equity in for a long, long time.
Sure.
And but it'll be an important game when the ball's thrown up. I know it's not coaches speak, but you'll just try to fight like heck to get a win that night and enjoy the Christmas break.
Neal mentioned Christmas. I mean, coming up, our first one in Oxford, obviously. Just kind of curious here, as a coach, your schedule's busy or whatever. What's sort of the traditions in the Davis household? What do you try to accomplish to make sure, hey, we've got time for these things and sort of the things you look forward to in the holidays around this hectic basketball schedule?
Yeah, as you get to know the Davis family, I mean, there's not much that we don't do together. I mean, whether it's, Betty and I and Allie or my daughter, my mom and dad, I mean, everybody's coming Christmas Eve to our house in Oxford. Usually we're traveling. So that's kind of nice that we're going to be in Oxford. We love to give our guys at least 4 nights at home. Mm-hmm. So after the Bridgestone game, they're going to spend the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Every year I want my guys to spend Christmas Day at home. I think sometimes if you're traveling back for Christmas, it doesn't seem like Christmas. So we're going to spend 4 or 5 days, and we'll come back on the 26th and kind of get ready for Florida Gulf Coast.
I briefly interrupt this podcast with Coach Davis to say that there are 2 cars parked in a lot across from the hotel that are about to be towed, a red Mercedes SUV and a gray Hyundai Sonata.
You're serious?
I'm just reading the note there.
Fair enough.
We don't want anybody to get towed, right?
We felt like high school sportscasters across the PA right there. That's good.
Your attention, please.
Yeah. What's the meal? What's Christmas? What do you eat? What do you do?
I asked Betty this. Sometimes we've kind of gone with pork tenderloin or whatever, and she goes, "No, we're doing a traditional Christmas dinner. So we're doing the turkey and stuffing and dressing and all the different things." So, yep, she's already made it, and all of my family's coming. So we spent the Thanksgiving in Destin, which was terrific. But I don't think we really had the home cooked Thanksgiving meal. So yeah, we're gonna have traditional Christmas.
Hold on, you did it now. Stuffing or dressing? Which one?
It's okay. It's okay.
It's got to be dressing, I guess.
It is
right?
dressing.
It's got to be dressing.
You. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
I call it stuffing sometimes, and Chase loses
It's stuffing if it's in the bird. It's dressing if it's outside the bird. We've been trying to tell McCready that for a while now, and he doesn't really
Betty's
catch on.
mom put it in the bird. Betty's not capable of that, I think, so she does it outside the bird. She's a great cook. She doesn't fry chicken either, so that's part of it.
Do you open the presents on Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, or
Christmas
do you
Eve.
open one all on Christmas Eve?
Mostly Christmas Eve. Yeah,
Wow.
We've always kind of done that. We may save a couple, but usually we've been a Christmas Eve family and then enjoy Santa on that Christmas morning.
Okay, so you open the presents on Christmas Eve, and then Santa brings the other stuff on Christmas morning. Okay, that's cool. Everybody does it their own way. We always only got to open one present on Christmas Eve, and so you would spend, and we were kids, we would spend like the 2 weeks leading up deciding which present we were going to open on Christmas Eve because we didn't know what was in it, and then that affected how good your Christmas Eve was. Then we'd open the other ones on Christmas morning after Santa came. It's very complicated. There's a lot to it.
I know we don't have you a whole lot longer. As much time as you were in Murfreesboro and different things, how is sort of the family acclimated to Oxford, though, and different things? Obviously, you've been pretty busy, but how's everybody else doing?
Oh, they have loved it. When you move, your family, been there 16 years. We have an oldest daughter that lives with us, Allie. And so the transition for her, we're a little bit worried about. But the people, like I said, the people have been unbelievable. Now she's working in 4 or 5 school districts. She knows more people than I do in Oxford, I promise you that. And it's been great. My wife absolutely loves it. And so it really is. The city of Oxford is one of the coolest places that you can have a family. What I gauge it by is my kids are older, but my staff all has younger kids. And they just rave about school systems, the different youth leagues and all that kind of stuff that, obviously my girls are too old now. And so they give it the highest compliments to raise families. And so everybody that we've brought in absolutely loves Oxford.
Allie is the most excited cheerleader I've seen. She is into your games big time. Both of your daughters are. It's fun to watch your family behind the bench. They're into it. Bucket by bucket, possession by possession. It's kind of fun.
It is. I married my wife Betty, and she didn't know basketball from anybody, but she's fallen in love with it. My daughters has been unbelievable. Allie she loves the pavilion. I think when you kind of grew up in a coaching household like I did my whole life, it kind of carries over generations, I think. And everybody knows how important all the games are, and so it is. Sometimes I think they go out of character, but I think that's just what tight basketball families do on game day.
Yeah, I think it's fun to watch. Hey, last thing, have you – I know you got a lot of games between now and then, but that first game against Mississippi State, what will that be like for you?
Well, nobody in the gym will want to beat Mississippi State more than I will. I promise you that. I'll guarantee you that. I promise you. So we're looking forward to it. We got 2 big games before it at Vandy and Auburn at home. But I think it's a Saturday CBS game.
Yeah.
And again, Ben's got a great team, top 25. He spent 3 or 4 years building that team. And but I think it'll be an exciting time, great day in Starkville. And I just think this. I think when I was following it from afar, and when Mississippi State and Ole Miss were so good in football that one year, what was so great for the state. It really was. And so, because it makes those rivalry games even more important. And I think that is good, and hopefully that both teams, you get it where both teams can be ranked and they're playing in Oxford and the games really matter, not only from a rivalry standpoint, from a national standpoint. And so I think that makes, whether it's baseball or football or whatever, it makes those games really, really exciting. And I think that'll happen sometime soon.
I know you got some recruiting to do, so thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Hotty toddy. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
While we're waiting on Mike to come in, we'll continue on a little bit. Neil, do you want to do a little promoting there with your box in front of you while we're waiting?
Yeah, Chase, you might have noticed that Dead Soxy is at it again just in time for the holidays. They're delivering your socks in style. Order any 5 pair of socks and get this right here, this holiday-themed sock box free. Say that a few times quick. Makes
I already have enough trouble saying the one thing I've got to say every day now, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that. These socks aren't handled, speaking of, these socks aren't handled with junk. They come to you in a very special package. You can still use the promo code Rebel Grove on any non-sale items and receive the 35% off discount, mix and match your favorites for a total of 5 to receive this special offer. So whether you're giving your family, your friends, or yourself a gift, give something they'll look forward to wearing over and over again. Everyone needs to experience the difference a quality sock makes. So go to deadsocksy.com, enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout to receive 35% off, and all orders over 5 pairs will receive this special holiday packaging free.
Okay, so what do we? Is that it? You done?
That's it.
Okay, good enough. It was sitting in front of you. I thought you were going to hand it to somebody or something.
No, we'll pass out a little bit later.
All right.
Guests join our podcast on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who will handle your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. And when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. The podcast is also brought to you by Home 2 Suites in Oxford. Home 2 Suites, South Lamar Court in Oxford, is open and ready to accommodate your personal or business needs just in time for the holidays. Located at 101 South Lamar Court in Oxford at the intersection of Belt Boulevard and South Lamar Avenue, this Hilton property is locally owned and operated by Ole Miss alumni and is just 1 mile from campus and 1.5 miles from the square. Each spacious suite has a living area with a sleeper sofa and a fully equipped kitchen. Guests have access to a complimentary breakfast each morning with more than 400 combinations to suit any palate, a fully equipped fitness center, a free laundry facility, free Wi-Fi, free parking, and much, much more. Guests will enjoy custom decorated interiors with artwork by local artists throughout the hotel, displaying the beauty and charm of Oxford and Ole Miss. After a long day, guests can grab a blanket and head to the front patio to cozy up around the fire pit, surrounded by outdoor couches, or enjoy the outdoor saltwater pool and patio area, complete with 2 gas grills and draped in bistro lights for those warmer days and nights that you just don't want to end. Extended stay rates are available, and Hilton Honors points can be earned for stays and redeemed for bookings. In addition, the 625 square foot meeting room is available for rentals and comes with all you need for the perfect boardroom meeting, classroom style presentation, or catered meal. For more information, call 662-238-3400 or visit home2oxford.home2suitesbyhilton.com. Home 2 Suites Oxford is on Twitter at Home2OxfordMS and on Instagram at Home 2 Suites Oxford MS. Home 2 Suites Oxford, we are your home too. My post-game columns in this podcast also sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It's founded in 1997. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, and decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners put you in a box. At Pinnacle Trust, that box is built just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Mike Espy, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, guys? How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. I saw the other day on Twitter you talked about how Mike McIntyre was the guy that helped get you to Ole Miss back in the day. He hired as defensive coordinator at Ole Miss a couple days ago on Sunday. What was kind of your first thoughts? Kind of take me through it a little bit when you saw his name.
Real excited that Mike McIntyre is back at home at Ole Miss. When I was coming up, they put different coaches in charge of different recruiting areas, and he was over my recruiting area. And I'll tell you, he was energetic, and we gravitated towards him. Obviously, when we went to Ole Miss, he showed us a great time, showed us what Ole Miss is all about. We came. That's where we went. We came on the official visit and literally committed, and it was over.
Who was with you on the official visit?
Oh, it was myself, Chris Spencer, had our running back, Sylvester Bobo Brown, had Tate Biddle, Mario Hill, Frank Gore was on the official visit at that time, too. Yeah. A funny story about that, he actually was excited about coming to Ole Miss, and rumor has it he committed at that moment. It was like a kind of a silent commit to them. But then he went home to Miami, and then the day before signing day, something happened, and, he's at Miami. So who knows?
What happened, Mike?
I don't know.
Come on, what happened?
No clue. No clue.
Right,
not into that. I don't know.
Wasn't Roscoe Parrish with him at the time?
Roscoe Parrish was there as well. So that recruit, different recruiting visits, they pair people together, and that was a crazy recruiting visit just in general. But yeah, Mike McIntyre, great guy, super excited to have him back. When you're going through transitions and things like that, you want to bring people who are proven, people that what they're about, and Mike McIntyre is Ole Miss all the way.
It's been a guy that's turned around multiple programs. San Jose State, I think they were 1-12 or something, and then 10-2 a couple years later. They were ranked. Then at Colorado, obviously he was Pac-12 Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year a couple years ago. I knew I hadn't necessarily followed him per se, but was it, his ability to relate, the energy? What was it that sort of sticks out from him as a recruiter, obviously back in that time?
It's the ability to relate. He's one of those guys, like right now, we've kept in communication, and I can text him, and, barring he's not just super busy, he'll respond, and we can have a conversation. So it's real. It's a genuineness, from the standpoint, when you get recruited, they're going to be honest with you, they're gonna sell you the moon. They're going to sell you everything. They're going to tell you you're going to come there, you're going to start, all this kind of stuff. But, he kind of shot me straight. He said, listen, you come to Ole Miss, you're going to have an opportunity to play as a freshman. We got some talented guys there. But if you do what we think you could do, what you think you could do, then you'll play and be very successful and hopefully make it to the next level. But like I said, just the ability to relate, the genuineness, the communication, and it's not fake. A lot of people, when I went through my recruiting, I recognized a lot of fakeness with different schools and different people, and just some outright, I look at them and I couldn't trust them. And I'm not going to name that other school, but yeah. It was all about that.
You can if you want to.
But I just couldn't trust him. It's just something about it. So he's a real genuine guy. I think he's going to bring not only, obviously, from the schematically a defensive perspective, but that recruiting. And we got some guys that we need to get to.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I want to go to that in a minute. But first, obviously, news that I wasn't aware of when you and I talked on Sunday night. Phil Longo moves on to North Carolina. Ole Miss now in the market for an offensive coordinator a couple days after signing McIntyre for defensive coordinator. Matt gets the first chance to really put his stamp on the program from an offensive standpoint of what kind of tempo he wants, what kind of style he's looking for from an offense. We think it's something probably with some spread tendencies, but a little more pro style, not anywhere near as fast as maybe things were going under Phil Longo. I'll let Neal.
You don't think it'll be as complicated as chasing space or chasing
Get open may not be a play this week. I'm sorry, but yeah, get open may be done far as
get open on two. Yeah, ready, break.
And it is worth from a news standpoint. North Carolina paid their last guy $450, probably paying Longo somewhere around $500,000. The way we always talk about buyouts, it's not a buyout. It's a guaranteed contract that gets fulfilled. So Ole Miss only has to pay Longo over the course of the next year whatever the difference is in those contracts. So pretty much they're off the hook from a buyout standpoint.
Man.
Do what?
Give me some of that money.
Yeah, you pass it around a little bit. My point, Mike, you know the personnel a little bit. Obviously, you've trained some of the guys that Ole Miss is bringing in. What do you think fits this program the best right now from an offensive standpoint?
I'll tell you one thing that for one, we always have had, or really have had really good receivers over the past years, and the nasty wideouts, right? But one thing that I want, really, if I'm in the Ole Miss office, I'm like, man, let's get a running back. Like, and not to say Scotty Phillips is really good, and he did really great last year, but, we have a tendency to get really, really good receivers. We got the quarterback position, obviously the offensive line, but we need to get a staple running back. And there's rumors about one potentially transferring to Ole Miss, but not going to get into that either. But, we need a staple running back, man. It's just like, if I just, off the top of my head, when was the last time we had somebody like a Deuce? You know what I mean? Like a Brandon Bolden, things like that. That's what we need. So if I'm in that meeting room, that's what I'm shooting for. A staple running back to go along with our staple of receivers, because we have some great receivers coming in, like Jonathan Mingo, and then the kid out of Tupelo. Like, guys, I don't know if y'all realize Mingo is ready to play right now. Right? He is out, like, he's a senior in high school, and he looks like he's a grown man. And just his ability and his maturity is that of I was nothing like that when I was coming out of high school. So we've got some great recruits coming in. I think we really need to focus on also getting that running back position. And obviously with Mike coming in, shoring up that defense and getting some really key spots.
I'm not going to let you get away with it that easy.
What's that? The
running back transfer that you referenced. You think there's something to that rumor?
Listen, I would love that.
Is that from a town that's just a few acres from here?
It's my high school rival. Like, it's that team. Gotcha. But listen, that's just a rumor, right? And rumors were worth nothing until they happen. But if that were the case, he would be an instant game changer.
You mentioned Mingo. Who's he remind you of? What's sort of the profile from a standpoint of a wide receiver?
He reminds me of an A.J. Brown. Like,
just kind of high praise there, don't we? Let's not oversell a little bit here.
I know, right? I'm not overselling it. Like, okay, like Mingo, for one, he's in high school, and he calls me up out the blue on Sunday, or kind of consistently about 4 days a week, and he's like, hey, man, let's go train. Now, this is a high school kid. Football season is over, all right, and he's preparing to get for the Mississippi-Alabama game, and he calls me, like, on his own trying to come train. He is physically, he's probably about 190, right now. And when I say fast, we had Jerrion Ely and Mingo in racing, and as we all know, Ely's fast, but Mingo was beating him. So just top to bottom, from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a maturity standpoint, he's got all the tools, and he is a senior in high school, right? So he goes up there with Coach Peeler, get all that great coaching from the wide receiver position, get him Coach Jackson's strength and conditioning program. There is no ceiling for the kid.
You mentioned Ely. Obviously, he starting an official visit process right now. He's got a baseball decision at some point. When you talk to him, what's his head like right now? What's going on through his mind? How is he sort of gauging this whole process, and how's he going about it?
Well, listen, I think that he's a kid in high school. He's a kid in high school with a lot of opportunities in football and in baseball. So I think that's what you just treat it like that. You just let him take the visits where he needs to take it. You just let him explore his options because, like, at the end of the day, he has to do what's best for him wherever that is. Obviously, we would love for him to be at Ole Miss, but if that's not what's going to work out best for him, then, obviously I'm Ole Miss faithful 100%, but I'm going to tell the kid, like, I want you to do what's best for you at the end of the day. So I think his mental process right now, he's just taking it all in, as he should.
Do you expect him to play college football one day?
I know that it's a passion of his, and he doesn't want to let it go. And so I think he will in college. He will be on the green one day, yes.
Do you really?
I do.
Well, you think he turns down the Major League Baseball money, or do you think he tries to do sort of the deal where you do a little bit of both?
So I don't know. I don't really want to speak for him or get in his head. I know that football is a passion of his, and to be so talented at baseball and football, like if it were my son, I'm gonna be honest with you, I would be like, hey, let's go get this money and like stay injury free. Like,
sure,
that's what I do. But he loves it, right? That's why he's still playing it. That's why he's really trying to pursue the sport at the next level in football. So I don't know, man. You just kind of ride the wave and see what he does. I'm excited for him. I wasn't as fortunate to be a two-sport athlete like he is coming out in terms of football.
I almost was, but yeah,
almost.
I get it. Yeah,
almost
close. I had a paper cut right there.
Yeah,
see that?
I do. Was that paper football?
Changed everything. Yeah.
Does anybody remember paper football?
Yeah.
Or am I just old right now? Did I just say something like
no,
old?
I played paper football.
Okay.
Were you flick it?
Yeah, you flick it. I was like the man at that.
Yeah, I was good at that too. I was probably better than you.
Well, we can roll it up right now.
Let's not.
Okay.
Because I got the cut.
Okay.
When you watch Kyler Murray play, are you sort of like me where you think this guy's about to make all this money in baseball? Now he's got most of it guaranteed now, but do you watch him and he's a great football player and you can tell he loves football, but you're thinking, man, you could make a lot of money playing baseball and no one's going to tackle you in center field.
Right. I mean, that's kind of very similar to the Ely situation. At the same time, when that happens, right, there must be like this internal passion about it where if they did not attempt it or if they did not go down that road, then they would always have a question and they would always have a thought about, man, maybe this could happen or maybe that could have happened. We, from the outside looking in, I'm going to say, hey, man, stop, like,
sure,
take the pads off and let's go throw a baseball. But that just goes to show you how deep-rooted the passion is for football.
And that drive is what makes them great. Exactly.
And the drive is what makes them great. That drive is what makes them good at baseball. So if you try to take it away, then you kind of take away who it is.
The Oxford Exxon Podcast is also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. It was founded in 1997, and Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, decisions made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners don't do that. They put you in a box. Pinnacle Trust builds a box just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. Restore serenity to your soul. Visit Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today, and then visit Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. It's a creative, sip on a creative craft cocktail or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships, so gather at Estelle tonight. Podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about that golf trip with the guys or that anniversary trip with her, the trip to Florida, the Caribbean, get in touch with John. He's a part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. If you're thinking about going with the boys to Pebble Beach, taking her to Napa for the vacation of her dreams, call John, give him some parameters and a budget, and let him give you some options. Know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. Call 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, look no further than Grenada Nissan. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Great lease deals as well. Get in touch with the guys and the girls at Grenada Nissan. Gene and Sandy have been great friends of ours for a long time. It's Grenada Nissan. USA.com.
If you were, you talked about this a little bit if you know Matt some, if you're Matt, schematically, what people always say this about Ole Miss, and I've always disagreed with it. Maybe you'll tell me I'm an idiot, and if you do, I'll defer to you. Everyone says you have to have a gimmick at Ole Miss. You can't get enough of the type of players to run the style of offense that, say, Alabama runs or LSU runs, that you have to have a gimmick. You have to do some crazy spread or some crazy motion offense. You got to have something that tricks people, a Mike Leach offense. And I've always looked at that and said, yeah, but that, like if you look at Mike Leach, for example, they had a good year this year at Washington State, but when they played a good physical team, they got beat.
Right.
I've always said I don't believe that. I think you can build a power at Ole Miss. Maybe there's less margin for error. Maybe you have to be more efficient. Maybe you have to be more organized. Maybe you have to be better evaluators. But you can run pro style or you can run whatever. Your opinion. You were a part of a really good Ole Miss team that came very, very close to winning the SEC. Do you have to run a gimmick offense, or can you do it the quote traditional end quote way?
You obviously you have to understand and know your personnel. Okay, and if you are scheming against an opponent and man for man you just don't match up, then you have to scheme it to where you have to try to gain that little edge that you wouldn't necessarily if it did match up. But to what you said, as far as being really good evaluators and in recruiting, that's how you build it, right? You get the right players, and that doesn't always necessarily mean the biggest, strongest, fastest. That means the best that works for your team. So, but I agree with you. I think we do have the players. I think obviously there are certain spots where we're not as stout as we would like to be. And we need to really do some recruiting to get some more kids in. But I think if you ask all the Ole Miss players right now and say if you ask them, do you have to trick somebody to win? Right? They'll 100% look at you and I and say no. Right? So I agree with them. I think that you could build a program through recruiting, obviously, be really good evaluators, and get the best piece that is for you and your team. So I'm with you. I don't think we have to be gimmicky. I just think we have to, from the root up, we really have to recruit and be like really good evaluators.
We've been talking about this 2019 recruiting class for such a long time. Ole Miss in with Kobe Dean pretty much all day and all night. Today, you've got Brandon Turnage right there at Lafayette close by. You know these kids as well as anybody. What has been kind of the overall thought on how Ole Miss has approached this class, the next class, just sort of an in-state perspective? How is this coaching staff doing from maintaining relationships and recruiting this group?
I think they're doing great. There are some players that I think we're probably going to miss out on that are really good and really in-state. But listen, we will be able to play in a bowl game next year. And they've held it together for these past years when we've been banned, right? So like that's really tough. It's like we're coming in with a handicap, and there's another school. All they have to do is bring that up. And so with that being said, I think considering all the factors, they've done a really great job maintaining the relationships. They've done a really good job keeping the guys that are there, because that's the key. If the guys that are there are unhappy or there's bad things going on at the school, well, it's all interconnected. You would not believe who's friends with who and who's friends with who and who's friends with who. And it just takes you to upset one person, right, that maybe didn't get in the game, or maybe he got a red shirt when he thought he should have played and all that. They have a conversation with a friend, and guess what? They're not going to Ole Miss. It's literally sometimes that simple. That being said, I think they've done a great job considering all factors, maintaining relationships, and kind of building forward and building promoting a future that has not been the present, right? There is an opportunity for postseason football. There's an opportunity to not just play for pride, right? Which is a big thing, but you want to play for the trophy. You want to play for the trophy, you want to play well, so you can go to the next level, and I think they've done a great job.
Last time you and I talked, it was probably August or September when you joined us in Oxford. Since then, they played a season. You got to see a little bit of him. It's Matt Corral's team now, Jordan Ta'amu moving on, and in Corral taking over. He definitely shown some fire there in the Egg Bowl. Was played a little bit. Right. What's sort of your impression though? What can you expect from Max Brown?
He's passionate. He's young.
Is that a good thing? Is he too passionate, or is it just right?
He's young, okay, and he's very passionate. Right, as he gets older, that passion will remain, but it'll get kind of channeled into the right way. We don't want our quarterback out there, in brawls. Right, we don't want.
He was a second from a decapitation there if he doesn't get pulled back.
You want a quarterback who will run through a wall for you, but you don't want a quarterback who will literally run through a wall for you.
Right. So, but at the end of the day, though, too, he is young, right? So he's going to grow and he's going to mature. But I can appreciate that passion from a young kid, right? When the game's not going good, it's the last game of the season. You got to take all that into account, but the kid has passion. I like him. I like him. So I think that the future is bright. We just got to channel that passion to throwing bombs and touchdowns and things like that, and making really long runs and not brawling. We got to keep him healthy.
Pretty good source as far as combine work and different things. How do you feel like the NFL draft's going to be to AJ, DK, Greg, and then obviously DeMarcus as well?
So, guys, DK is a freak, man. Like, just to be honest with you, it's like he's just
looks like a defensive end.
Listen, in a whole nother world, like maybe 10 years ago, he probably would have been a DN with his hand down and able to be destructive at that position. But I think it's going to bode well for them. You got AJ coming out. I think they're both very good, but they're both very different. So it kind of depends on what a team needs early, right? If a team needs that number one receiver, y'all might be surprised at what I'm going to say, but like they're going to probably pick up DK right before. If you need that dependable slot guy who can bounce in and out, then I'm gonna get AJ. But that doesn't, just as I said, that doesn't make, in my opinion, one better than the other. That just makes them different. So I think it's gonna bode well for them. I think those are both first round guys. And Little's a freak of an athlete as well. So we'll see.
Do you think AJ is more dependent on making sure he gets on the right roster because of the skill set, different things? You make sure the right system grabs him, the right team for him to maximize his abilities?
I think so. I think there's a real comparison between a Treadwell and an AJ. And you saw when Treadwell came in with the Vikings, he really wasn't productive. He kind of had to learn because Treadwell's always played outside, right? But when he got to Minnesota, they put him in the slot. Well, he's never played. That's a new position. It's completely different. It's like if you just look at it, you might think, if you play outside, you can play inside. But it's two completely different positions. So he had to learn the nuance of that position and how to get in and out of routes and kind of manipulate the safeties and the defensive backs and things like that. But as we see, as he's kind of matured in that and got better and learned, he's really producing right now. So I think it's very similar for AJ. I think AJ has the ability to be a real game changer on any team, but he just needs to land in the right spot so he can kind of, like you said, use his best abilities and maximize them.
I think with Treadwell, too, is I think it all got in his head. All of a sudden, he has hands problems and different things because, a guy who's always been the best player on the field, you get out there and you can't produce and you're pressing and, if you drop one more, you're maybe not even eligible to play the next week. They're not going to have you on the active roster. It's a whole different game change when you get to that point and you're not producing.
Oh, without a doubt. It's the mental aspect of it is on an accelerated level than it is in college. First off, everybody, in college, the theory is, everybody's going out there and hungry and trying to take each other's job, but it's a little bit more togetherness than it is in the NFL. In the NFL, it's like, okay, I'm not waiting for you to mess up, but I'm waiting for you to mess up so I can step into that role and I can show what I can do. So coming in as a high draft pick, there was some pressure for him to perform. As it will be for DK, as it will be for AJ. So they just need to, make sure they just have the right people around them, the right guidance around them, the right people who have been through that. Treadwell will be a great resource for them. And
Neil, do you kind of agree with me? You think with this thing starting with Dan Werner, what are we feeling OC-wise as this gets started on day one?
It's the only name that anybody says. It's the name that we've heard for months. in much the same way, and maybe this is the touche part of it, we always heard Pete Golding's name from the middle of September on, and it turned out to not be Pete Golding because there was no way to predict necessarily in September what was going to happen with Colorado. But we've always heard Dan Werner's name. I talked to people at South Carolina today. He's the quarterback's coach. They like him. He's making $400-ish. So it makes perfect sense. He wants the job. I think
Still owns a house here.
Yeah, Tyler Siskey rents his house. Maybe Tyler's the one person that doesn't want him to come.
Yeah.
He wants the job. I think Matt's comfortable with him. People that have been around Matt for the past several months have talked about his desire to be comfortable with the staff. I don't think he was very comfortable with this past staff. It's one of the reasons that I think the second half of the season, Matt didn't seem to act like himself. I think he was just waiting for the clock to run out, if you will. But you and I talked about this today. He gets one shot at this. I mean, if he gets a second shot, it's going to be because it's 10 years from now or 8 years from now, and he had a lot of success, and then maybe they hit a rough patch, right? And you get a chance to do it again. If a year or two from now his hires aren't working out, I mean, he's gone. Everyone's gone. So he gets one chance at it. So he can't let himself be hostage to friendships. He can't let himself be completely hostage to comfort. He's got to go out and get the right guy. And if you're him, I think you have to be careful that you don't just go, okay, well, Dan Werner's there. I'll go hire Dan Werner. I do think you kind of owe it to yourself, if you're Matt, to take 24 to 72 hours and survey the field. Maybe you look at a Matt Canada. Maybe you look around a little bit, see who is available.
They've got basically 7 figures to throw around, potentially multi-year deals here.
It's what I was going to say. The one thing that came out of the defensive coordinator thing, the one big positive that came out of the Pete Golding flirtation was basically Ole Miss saying, we'll pay what we have to pay, and we'll give the multi-year deal if that's what it takes. We're trying to get the best guy. And they didn't get Pete Golding. They wanted Pete Golding. They didn't get Pete Golding. They got Mike McIntyre. It's fine. But they did send a message in the rest of the coaching profession that, hey, they'll pay. They're serious. They're trying to rebuild this thing. And so there are going to be some offensive coordinators out there who probably, using intermediaries and stuff, are going to put feelers out. And so for the people who say, well, just hire Dan, get him on the road right now. I mean, I get that. Recruiting the National Signing Day is a week away. But you do sometimes have to take a big picture view, even when you're a coach who's somewhat embattled and somewhat on a hot seat. You do have to take a big picture view and say, wait, I'm going to take a couple of days here, and I'm going to survey the landscape and see who's available. And then if the best guy who's available is Dan Werner, and it very well may be Dan Werner, well, then go after Dan Werner. That's fine. But don't be hostage to that frame of mind. And I'm curious to see whether Matt will be or won't be, because I know the comfort's a big deal to him. But like I said, you get the one shot, and you got to act quickly, and it's going to be a young offense, and they're going to struggle. I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. They're going to struggle early. It's a new quarterback. It's a
reworked offensive line.
It's potentially a very new offensive line. You lose DK and AJ and DeMarcus and potentially Dawson Knox, and you've got a experienced running back. I mean, there's just a lot of pieces there. So go get the right person who can come in the spring and start and install on a system that you're going to feel good about.
Yeah, I mean, we already heard 1 or 2 Power 5 coordinators today that just from a money standpoint kind of ears perked up and went, well, they're willing to pay, so I'm sort of interested here on whatever's going on. Because, yeah, look, with Dan Werner, things are going to be somewhat mixed if that becomes the leading candidate as it moves through. It's a guy that's been here before, been here on multiple tenures, someone that people are going to go, hey, anybody could have hired Dan Werner. You and I, Mike, we could hire Dan Werner. But at the same time, Matt does have to find the right guy for his system, the right guy that he trusts. Because like you said, Matt Luke gets one shot at this. Do it your way. Do it with the guys that you think can produce however that sees fit. And then you kind of move on from there. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, when he was hired, some people looked at it as he was like not the main choice, but like he'll do for now. That's what some people looked at it as. But then obviously he's a player's coach. They love him. So like now is a true test. Now it's like, okay, you have the opportunity to bring in your people. What kind of decisions are you going to make? How are you going to make those decisions? So it's some pressure. But like you're saying, I think that when you bring somebody new in, right, comfortability is good, right? At the same time, you want there to be a level of pressure there. And I think, I'm not against Werner at all, but I'm just saying in general, when you put pressure on people, you kind of see where they go. And the word comfortable that's not a word that I like. And I understand that you have to be able to relate to your people and be able to communicate and talk, and all that is fine and dandy. At the same time, like, I want us to be business partners, because they're coaches, they're business partners. They're business partners going in trying to create a successful business, and that business is the game of football and this football team. So everybody has to perform at the highest level that they have to perform at. I think pressure's good, and maybe that means bringing somebody new in with really high expectations.
Yeah, I'm not against Dan Werner at all. I just think he has to be careful not to overreact to – he was never comfortable with Phil Longo. I mean, he didn't – look, let's be real. Hugh Freeze hired Phil Longo so that Phil Longo could be the scapegoat. When the offense went bad, Hugh Freeze could step in and start calling the plays again. I mean, that's what that was. And then they get the job. And Matt had done this loyalty thing with everybody, and he kept everybody, which included Longo. And they'd given everybody these long-term contracts, and he kept Longo, and he was never really comfortable with it, and you could see that. And so he has to be careful not to overreact to that, to go, okay, well, I'm going to go from being completely uncomfortable to completely comfortable.
Right,
I'm just going to change into my pajamas and get super comfortable right here with this guy that I know.
Good job.
Forgive me.
Nice.
There are silent buttons to your cell phone?
Yeah, I know there are, but sometimes old people forget to put the silent
single
button
morning
on. But he has to be careful with that. And I'm not saying that that's what Dan is, because Dan's been in another program now for a while, and he's probably picked up some new things from working with Will Muschamp and Brian McClendon and that kind of thing. So maybe it's a little different wrinkle, and I'm sure they'll talk about all those things, but it bears it's so critical to point this out that it bears repeating. He gets one shot.
I'm so fascinated by North Carolina, though. I've written this on the board. I tweeted this earlier today. Phil Longo and Jay Bateman, two guys having to find a way to coordinate offenses and defenses. Bateman, who would give up 5.91 yards per play, but had a top 10 defense from yards per game because Army just kept the ball all the time. He never really had to play defense for a long period of time. Now he's doing nothing but playing defense the way this thing has worked out. I mean, if you're Jay Bateman today, you're a little annoyed, I'll be honest.
Well, Jay Bateman spent the better part of the last month lobbying people in the coaching business that, hey, I want to have a chance to prove that my defensive numbers are not just built on limited reps and time of possession.
Here you go, bud.
That opportunity was handed to him today on a giant silver platter.
Yeah, he's been playing about 15 minutes a game. Now he's playing every minute but about 15 minutes a game as they move forward.
He's going to go from preparing for about 50 snaps a game to about 100 snaps a game. It was the one thing, I'm going to give Wesley McGriff credit for this. He hinted at it a few times, but he never said it the way I would have said it, where, well, yeah, we gave up 600 yards. We were out there for 110 plays. I mean, there was something to be said for, you knew we were thin, you knew we didn't have bodies, and you still ran an offense that made absolutely no sense on this roster. It was the one thing about Wesley McGriff that you can talk about whether his defense was prepared, and it wasn't, and you can talk about whether he called a very good game, and he didn't, and all those things, but dude was working with both hands tied behind his back the entire time. I mean, he never got an even shot at it, given the offense that they ran and the personnel that he inherited.
Neil's going to give away something from his box over here, I have a feeling. We've got koozies out there. Really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Thanks to Kermit Davis, obviously going by now. And then Mike for heading on over from Madison following his work day as well. For
thank you,
everybody listening, obviously this will be up in the morning as well, and we'll be back soon. But appreciate everybody hanging around, and we'll talk to you again later on.
Howdy, tidy.